So we have 6 questions today. So we'll start with the first question. Yeah. Deepaji is here.
No, amitji.
Okay.
We sent a message and also called, but she
Uh-huh.
responds still, so I'm not sure, Amitji.
Yeah, we can take it up next week. Yeah. Question 2, please. Yeah. Anna, can you please read the reference and the question?
Sure. So I was during e-learning, going through the Atmabodha, verse 49. I don't have the scripture with me right here. But the question, it was more the discussion that he was talking about, and just this notion or this state of thoughtlessness. So I felt like I could understand, moments of without agitation, but how can really a person exist without thoughts?
Right. So references, you had the reference, Radha? Just you can read the translation.
Yes,
Atmabodha verse 49. Yeah.
Yes.
Please read the translation.
Translation: The liberated soul endowed with self-knowledge drops his traits of the previous equipments to become self with nature of existence, knowledge, bliss, just as worm becomes wasp.
Okay. So there are 2 points here, Anna. The first point is conditioned person cannot understand unconditioned state. So we all are conditioned. So it is not possible for us to conceive what that state could be, which is state of unconditioning, state of self-realization, because it is beyond body, mind, intellect. So we are trying to understand it here as a concept intellectually. So it's not possible. So therefore, it is said it is beyond body, mind, intellect. So intellect cannot comprehend that state. So when they talk about thoughtlessness, it means vasanalessness. Vasana produces thought, thought produces desire, desire produces action. So there is no propelling force in whatever enlightened masters they are doing at any level of their personality. So they could be acting just like you and me, but there is nothing, no action is desire propelled. This is nearest we can understand. And our own life could be useful for this. If you take adult versus like children comparison, like when you play with 4 or 5 year old kid, you know, I mean, what desires do you have for the toy world? Zero. So as far as toy world is concerned, you can say you're thoughtless, meaning you have no desires. But still you may play with them. Maybe you will go and buy toys for them. If the toy breaks down, you may fix the toy, you may apply yourself. But you have zero propelling force as far as toy world is concerned. You have no desire for the toys. So we can say that in this parlance which we are using, that you have reached a state of thoughtlessness, meaning desirelessness, vasanalessness. So you have no vasana, you have no desires for the toy world.
Thank you.
And the practical application of this could be, as you grow, as you get established in the spiritual path, you function on obligations. You do what you ought to do. You may not have any desire for it, but you do what you ought to do. See, we often give this example. You are working in the corporate sector, you know. Sometimes for networking, you may have to attend parties, and you may not have any desire, in fact, zero desire for that. But still, you may end up doing that, and you may organize that party, You may be the organizer, but you have no desire for that. So you are doing what ought to be done. That is your obligation in that case, because you have to grow your business or whatever. So you just do what you ought to do. So there need not be any desire propelling that particular action. So like that, we can go on multiplying examples from our own life, day-to-day life. So this is nearest we can understand about this concept.
Thank you.
So are we okay with this question, the group? Yeah. Next question, please. Yeah. So Vinod uncle's question. So we have reference Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, verse number 1. It talks about fearlessness. Rather, can you just pull out the translation, please? So always good to read the reference, that verse translation we can read.
Yeah.
And the question is based on that quality, fearlessness. What causes fear and how to overcome it? Please explain it with examples. So if you could just read the translation, please.
Abhayam, fearlessness. The state of divinity is marked by one's merger with the all-pervading homogeneous being. You reach a state of infinitude, wholeness, oneness without otherness. The absence of otherness rules out fear. To the extent you identify with fellow beings and feel a oneness with them, your fear diminishes. And when the feeling of oneness is absolute, fear vanishes. On the contrary, when you estrange yourself from the others, create an otherness, you develop a sense of fear. The state of divinity is also indicated as absolute knowledge, a state beyond all ignorance. Fear lurks in darkness, ignorance. Where there is light, knowledge, there can be no fear.
So it is explained quite well, in that paragraph. So otherness causes fear as opposed to feeling of oneness. So we often give this example. And if you go abroad, in a foreign country where you haven't been there, so there could be that fear where people they don't look like you know. So you're used to relating to particular type of people. So that feeling of otherness can create fear. There are various reasons of fear. So he has mentioned, I think, two here. Ignorance causes fear. That is another reason. Ignorance of, if you don't know how to live life, then it is you don't know how to face challenges of life. So that fear is there. What will happen if I lose my job? What will happen if I lose somebody, near and dear to me? So you don't know how to deal with that challenge. So therefore, he's saying ignorance, darkness. So in this context, lack of knowledge. And also another reason which is not mentioned here, but we often discuss elsewhere. This emotion fear is directly linked to what extent you are focused on your personality. that I and my, that selfishness, attachment, possessiveness. So it's the whole package. Once that I pops up, everything follows. And to the extent you are unselfish, to that extent there is less fear. So if you go by the concentric circles, we all know that circle 1, circle 2, circle 3, circle 4. So a person who is totally focused on his personality, I, my. So there is constant fear. There is tremendous fear, like what will happen to me? What will happen to me? Insecurity. So all that follows. But as you go to the next circle, next circle, next circle, that's what we mean by unselfishness. That fear reduces because ego reduces, that thought of I reduces. But selfish person, he has that constant thought, what will happen to me? What will happen to my children? What will happen to my, A, B, C? Is linked to I. And when one reaches the state of selflessness, there is no fear at all because you're not focused on your body, mind, intellect. So selfish, unselfish, selfless. Even in day-to-day activities, I am talking about a person who is self-centered, who is affected by everything. That fear, constant fear is there. So even this war talk is going on. There are people who are terribly, terribly affected. You know, but there are people. I mean, fine. You have to go. You have to go. I mean, what can be done? So that's the psychology. Even this disease, this corona and all, anything. There are some people who are terribly paranoid. Yeah, that's the word. That fear, what will happen. So it's directly to what extent you are focused on your personality. So selfishness, if you're totally selfish, there is a lot of fear. Unselfish, less fear. Selfless, there is no fear because there is no thought on one's personality, body, mind, intellect. So these are additional points in addition to what is covered in the book. So anything else you are looking for, Uncle?
No. Thank you, Amitji.
And if I'm not mistaken, Lena, you had asked similar question or same question a few weeks back. Either Lena or somebody. I mean, I forget now. This question was, I remember answering in whatever context. I mean, somebody clarified, if you go to an unknown place where your safety is involved, is that fear not legitimate? Then I gave example of like Swami Ram Tirtha, the forest infested with wild animals. He used to roam. So somebody had asked this question. So that is, I mean, we're talking about enlightened person where there is no thought of body, mind, intellect at all. So there is zero fear. So none of us can.
Yes, I mean, I think I asked it in the context of eliminating the ego. And I was thinking if the fear is based on us having the ego, but sometimes fear is also necessary to protect us.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that context was there. So it was, I mean, I just thought that we had a discussion on this, but in this context, we discuss all the points. See, lack of fear does not mean you are reckless. That is tamas. You may not have any fear. That doesn't mean you do anything crazy. I mean, there's a difference between sattva and tamas. Tamasic person also, I don't have fear. I mean, I will drink 10 pegs. That is tamas, recklessness, indifferent. That is different from sattva. I mean, you won't put yourself in harm's way unnecessarily. Your intellect is there, but inside there is no fear. So is group okay? Anything, any clarification or whatever?
Amitji, I have one clarification.
Yes, Vijay.
So this entire circle we are talking about is all related to the state of mind. Is that correct, Amitji?
You're talking about fear?
Fear, yeah. So in the fear, we're talking about how much you are oneness, that much you will not be fearful. I mean, your fearness may be more when you're more selfish. When your identification is more and more, then you may not have that much fear. Is that a stage? I'm asking, is that question? Is that a stage?
I mean, it is a state. I mean, you can't practice being fearless. See, therefore, we started with it is directly linked to your eye, to what extent you are focused on eye. Go to the concentric circle. It will help you. So if you're totally focused on your personality, I, total identification with your body, mind, intellect, then there is constant fear. So because world can affect only body, mind, intellect, you know that, right? So to what extent you have attached yourself to body, mind, intellect? That is the ego. Ego does that. It's me, it's me, it's me. So if somebody who is totally focused on his or her personality, by personality we mean body, mind, intellect, then there is maximum fear. What will happen? Physical level we understand. Mind level also we understand. What if somebody does not cater to my emotions? There are people who have a lot of emotional demands. You get my points.
Yeah.
So who will cater to my emotions? So there is a fear. So we can go on multiplying examples, but it comes back to what extent you are focused on I. That's the theorem here. If you understand that, rest is very easy. Are you okay, Vijay?
Yeah. Amitji.
Group is good? Next question, please. Oh, yeah, Lina. Lina, please read your question, the reference and the question.
Okay, so the reference to my question is your lecture in the retreat on action, and the statement wrong. And the question is, in an office environment,
I think we can't hear you, Lina.
Yeah, it froze.
Froze, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it doesn't matter. I will read the question. So reference we have the retreat which we had few weeks back. So we discussed the concept of right and wrong. Question is based on that. So in an office environment, should we assess if something is right or wrong? It feels ego plays a role here. If we need to assess, then how do we do it without the interference of ego? See, there are two things you are mixing here. I will point it out. When we talk about right and wrong, it is not in the action. The whole world believes particular action is right, particular action is wrong. No, it is intention behind the action that makes it right or wrong, not action per se. And we often give example of a mother and a child. So you stick to that example. You know that example, Lina, right? That mother is screaming at a child, and a neighbor sees and says, I mean, what kind of a mother she is, keeps on yelling at a child. But mother is coaxing a child to take a shot. and child is refusing, 8, 9 year old, So you can't go by the action. The intention is, absolutely is like benevolent intention, total identification with the child. But action is screaming, yelling, and all that. So therefore, we say there is no such thing called as right action or wrong action. It is the intention which makes any action right or wrong, and that is subjective. You only know what is your intention. That is the theorem. That's the main point, which is different from, that's what perhaps you are asking. There are people who are selfish, there are people who are corrupt, there are people who are manipulative. Obviously, it is wrong. They want to be successful at the cost of others. So they do all sorts of things. It could be in office place, it could be in any place, even in the family, it could be possible. So you need to understand that objectively, so that you can relate to such people, and maybe you have to deal with that particular situation if it is going to be harmful to you. So there are two different concepts here. But again, when you see something wrong, if you personalize it, then that is where the ego comes. Oh, I hate these people. Oh, I hate these people. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I don't like that. Rather than just dealing with it objectively. Black is black, white is white. That is objectivity. So you understand that there are people who could be selfish, manipulative, backstabbing type. And as you get more clarity, coming back to the intention, you will be able to understand the intention behind the person's action. Will you not understand a child's intention, whether it is good or bad? It's not a rocket science. A 5-year-old smart kid is trying to manipulate with you. You're 32, the child is smart child, so-called smart child is 5 years old, and he's trying to manipulate, you know. Will you not see through X-ray through his or her action, the child's action? Because of disparity, you have a lot of clarity. So similarly, as you get clarity, as your intellect becomes very powerful, you will be able to understand the intention behind person's action, whether it is good intention, whether it is bad intention. You can x-ray through that person. But if somebody is above you, intellect wise, I am talking about, you are at 20%, that person is at let's say 80% of intellect, then you will not know, even if that person's actions are benevolent, because you will go by the action. See, for example, CEO of a company, he dismisses 2 or 3 employees for not performing repeatedly. They're incompetent, you know. So all sorts of warnings are given, enough opportunities given to them. At the end of the day, you can't allow people to be incompetent. It's not good. So he gets rid of them. And everybody is discussing, how could he do that? They have a family, there is loan to pay, there is mortgage and all that. So you understand that that decision is for the larger good. And how can you have incompetent people, in any place? But most people, a lot of people, they won't understand that. But if you have powerful intellect, you will be able to understand the intention behind that action. So there are two things which I see coming out from your question. One thing is there is an intention behind the action. That's the main point which was discussed in the retreat. But that is different from there is right and wrong in the world. How can you not say that? Anything selfish at the cost of others is wrong. There's a definition of unrighteousness. So now what is your question?
I think you answered it. Context that I said, the reference, if an action is right or wrong, not right or wrong per se, but only when we review the intent behind it. But only if I can remain objective in the determination if something is, what the intent is, I can make sure that there is no ego involved. If I start judging about the situation beyond objectivity, then I have, and this is only, and then this is becoming egocentric and the wrong determination of the intent behind the action. So the stronger my intellect, the better I can determine objectively the intent behind the action.
So you're talking
Without,
about others' actions, somebody else's action, right or wrong action.
yes.
See, before ego, there is capacity. Therefore, I said, do you have the capacity to even objectively understand the intention behind the action? If you're at 20%, I'm repeating myself, and somebody is at 80%, there is no way you will understand whether it is good intention or a bad intention. But if that person is, let's say, at 20, 25, I mean, your level, you will be able to understand his or her intention. So it is more about your capacity, your intellectual clarity, your intellectual growth. So only when you have powerful intellect, you can make a guess, what could be his or her intention. Ego, I don't see how that concept fits in. Even if it is good intention, you may say, oh, I like his intention, or why are you personalizing it? So that's not the point of discussion here. It's like objectively you understand. Do you understand the intention behind the action? That's the whole discussion all about.
Thank you.
So is group okay? It's a good, good concept. Most people don't understand this, the intention behind the action. Hardly anybody understands this. All right. So we'll move on to the next question.
Amitji, I have a doubt.
Yeah, please.
If your intention for somebody is good and you're doing your best for them, but they
Right.
don't understand it and everybody else is, the other person is not happy with it and there's a lot of pushback, what
Right.
has to be done?
No, you can't. I mean, if you have really genuine intention, I mean, you will do what you ought to do. That's your conviction. That's your conscience. So you can't worry about not doing that action. You can't worry about that. See, I'm magnifying. 17, 18-year-old girl, your mother, so you will understand this. So she says, no, mom, there's a party in Kalamazoo at 10 o'clock in the night. Parties from 10 to 12. And I'm going for that party. And it gets dark by 5 o'clock, 5:30. It is winter. A young girl driving all alone all the way, whatever, 200 miles, attending that party and coming back. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, strict no, anything can happen.
Yes.
And your daughter may rebel. I mean, how dare you say, no, all my friends are coming. There's a emotional trauma, crying, screaming, yelling, and all that. That's the pushback, you mean. If you are benevolent, any pushback you will swallow. You better swallow that. But you will stick to your, no means no. I'm magnifying, so it becomes easy. So you can't worry about what others think. In fact, ignorant people, they cannot understand benevolent intentions. You often say most people, they don't understand the benefactors in life, but you will do what is ought to be done. So you act in their interest, whether they understand it or not. Therefore, most of the Mahatmas, they are misunderstood. A true Mahatma, he only tries to correct you. That is true Mahatma. If he is not trying to correct you, if he is pleasing you all the time, then he has some agenda, hidden agenda. There's something he wants. Hardly anybody understands that. But he will correct you, no matter even whatever the pushback. You may ruin his reputation, you may do whatever, you may kill him also. It doesn't matter. That's what happened to Christ. You know, I mean, they crucified him. But does that mean he did not speak the truth? So that's what he said. What is it that I said that you're objecting to? Your own scriptures are telling you that you are the truth, you are the divinity. You know, the Jewish scriptures he is talking about. That's what he said. He said, what is it that I have done which is wrong? Your own scriptures are telling you. And he went on. Socrates, he questioned everything. This is what Swamiji also says. Don't take anything for granted, not challenging, question everything. Spirit of inquiry. And people did not like that. So he was accused of corrupting the youth. I mean, he did not stop. I mean, that was his message. He did not take back his message. And they gave him hemlock, the poison. So you don't worry about the pushback. Also, of course, you need your intention. I mean, you use your intellect. It goes without saying. This is the principle. How exactly you deal with your daughter, coming back to that example, see, that depends on the situation. So there is no fixed formula. I mean, once this is clear, there are different ways and means of handling any situation. So that is contextual. But the intention is you act with benevolence. Doesn't matter what others think about you.
Yes. Thank you, Amitji.
So are we okay? Next question, please. Lindia, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So can you please read your reference and a question?
So in Holocaust of Attachment, we discussed the idea of reputation being a distorted perception of some sort that we should detach from. It reminded me of the attaching to the work but not to the outcome approach. Then reputation would be an outcome. If one is detached from the outcome, then one is detached from reputation. My question is, how about when reputation is tied to one's ability to get and retain work? But I feel like you already answered this. But it says if someone is ruining another person's reputation, not because the person deserves it, but because they are unliked, and this is costing that person work opportunities, then there is a direct link between income and reputation and ability to make ends meet. How does one detach from the impact reputation has on one's livelihood?
So you cannot detach. Detachment is a state. The simpler explanation in this example would be how not to be affected when somebody ruins my reputation for no reason. I mean, you will be affected if you are at that level. No child, every child will be affected by the loss of a toy. So the child is asking, mom, how not to be affected when my my toy is lost. Your child cannot. Your child is at that level. So similarly, everybody's at a different level. So you cannot. So if you value reputation, if you care about reputation, you will be affected. So you are giving example of the consequences of losing reputation. We can come out with 10 different examples. It may cost you your job. It may cost you your relationship. Somebody falsely accuses you. Now that's that play all about Othello. You know, He's absolutely Desdemona is absolutely innocent. I mean, you can't get purer person than Desdemona, but she lost her reputation. That's what Iago did to her. So it could be anything. It depends on situation. So therefore, if you read the definition carefully, you understand. This is how we grow. In fact, Iago says that reputation is an idol and the most false imposition. Reputation is an idol and a most false imposition, oft lost without deserving. What is it? Reputation is an idol and a most false imposition, oft got without merit and lost without deserving. Oft got without merit and lost without deserving. It's an idle talk. It is gossip. So you may be the virtuous person, competent person, but then there's a campaign to malign you, and you may lose that, your reputation, and it could affect you. I understand that, genuinely, your ability to get job or whatever it may be. But then again, I mean, you understand this is life. That's the way it is. But from practical point of view, if you are faced with that situation, you may explain yourself. If, for example, you go for a job interview and there is some remark, there. So you may clarify. No, I mean, I got nothing to do with it. I mean, it was like a malign campaign against me. No, it's up to that person whether to understand it or not. Any person whose intellect is relatively powerful, he'll be able to understand that. Yeah, I think it doesn't make any sense. So it's not that you swallow it. I mean, if it comes, if you have to give explanation, you may give explanation, but inside you don't care because that's the way the world functions. So therefore, that definition is very powerful. I mean, it doesn't need any explanation. Oft got without merit. People who don't have merit, they are famous. And you lose it when you don't deserve to lose it. So you understand that. So this understanding will give you that sense of detachment. You will not be affected. So as you get established in this value, this knowledge, to that extent, the world will not affect you. Reputation is just one example we are talking about. So it's not in black and white. The ignorant people are totally affected. Again, if you go back to Othello, that's what Cassio comes saying. Oh, Iago, I lost my reputation, or I lost my reputation. He goes to the wrong person. He goes to the villain. He's the one who is responsible for all that. Then Iago tells him what is reputation. So that's the backdrop of. So to what extent you are established in this knowledge, you can't practice. If somebody is at 10%, and if that person loses his reputation, they will be totally affected. And in your example, it may affect your livelihood. I mean, definitely, why not? But still, it is what it is. That is where the challenge comes. If it is not affecting you, how does it matter? That's the real test. You're walking on the street and somebody says, okay, you idiot, while driving people, they say sometimes. It's okay. I mean, it's not, no big deal. So that in a relationship, it could be in the workplace, it may affect you, in a big way. That is where that's the test. To what extent we are established in this knowledge. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Group. All clear? Okay, next question, please. Geeta auntie here.
reference is Mundaka Upanishads, chapter 1, section 1, mantra 8, translation and explanation. Translation, through tapas, effort, Brahman swells. From that arises food, from food, prana, vital air, mind, great elements, worlds, and endless actions. Question is, please explain mantra 8 in detail, especially with reference to paragraph 2, first two lines, which says the tapas that Brahman is said to perform is the identification with a creative urge.
Right. So we have the reference. So it is from Mundaka Upanishad. In fact, verse number 7 and 8. So together, if you understand them, then you will know what he is talking about. So he is talking about various theories of creation. So verse number 7 and 8, they give these theories. So I'm just reading the translation, verse number 7 plus 7 first. So it's from this book, Choice Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, section 1, part 1, verse number 7 and 8, page 171, in case you are using this book. So verse 7 translation reads, as the spider makes and withdraws its web, as on earth herbs grow, as from a living man hair grows on head and body, so from the imperishable the universe emerges here. Verse number 8 translation, through tapas, effort, tapas means effort, Brahman swells. From that arises food, from food, prana, prana means vital air, mind, great elements, worlds, and endless actions. Now, what we need to understand that there is no creation. People ask this question, and legitimately, that what is the origin of this world? Even now, you and I could ask this question, from where the sun came, from where the moon came, from where all these animals came from, where all these different plants and creatures came. It's a legitimate question. No, any thinking person will ask that question. Now, exactly same thing you could do in a dream. Imagine this is the dream. Right now, we are in a dream, and we are trying to find out the origin of the world, the dream world, which is understood. So you can go on racking your brains. You will never find answer to that question. From where this dream sun has come, from where all these galaxies they have come. But the moment you wake up, you become a waker, you understand that the erstwhile dream was nothing but your imagination. There was nothing. But while dreaming, you cannot understand that. It is impossible. So therefore, a guru, a waking guru, he is telling a dream seeker, okay, fine, this is how the dream started. He gives various theories, A, B, C, D, E. Actually, there is no such thing. But it calms his mind. And then he puts efforts to become a baker. Now you apply the same formula. So world which we are experiencing is solid. We cannot deny that. And there is a table here. I can see you on the screen. You go out, it is hot or cold. There is star, there is moon, there is rain. So it is made up of pluralistic objects and beings. So from where this world has come? So that query will remain. So just to calm the mind, they give various theories. So these are, he gives, I think, 5 or 6 theories. It has got absolutely no meaning. So there is no creation, but it calms the mind. Okay, fine. Okay, like a house spider webs, creates his web. This is how the world was created. It is absolutely baseless if you really analyze. But or somebody like really scientific. Okay, Big Bang. This is again one of the theories. Oh wow, what a scientific explanation. There is no explanation. The world was never created. It calms your mind so that you can get on with your efforts. That's the reason they give these theories. Actually, it doesn't matter, but at least it comes to your mind. Okay, this is how the world was created. Fine. Then you get on with your studies. You try to purify your personality. You try to put efforts. So that's the role these theories they have. And one such theory is giving that how this world was created. So Brahman did tapas. Now, what is Brahman? It's not a personality. It's a supreme, all-pervading reality. So what tapas Mr. Brahman can do? It's absurd if you analyze. But it may appease to few people. May not appease to you, may not appease to me. Something else may appease to me. And then we get on with our sadhana, spiritual practice. So beyond that, there is no purpose of these theories, because there is no creation to begin with. So therefore, that dream world and waking world comparison will be useful, So can't analyze. I mean, I don't want to use the word. This nonsensical thing is given in Upanishad, but it is. It's a senseless thing. There is no creation.
Okay, thanks.
You okay, Auntie?
Yes, thank you.
But at least it makes you think. That is the advantage. We are stretching our intellect and then we dismiss it. Oh, So to that extent, it is useful. But with your background, you've been exposed to this knowledge for such a long time. Just pass. Don't even, beyond a point, don't dwell on these mantras. So are we okay? Group is okay? So have we covered all the questions, Jay, Radha?
Yes, amitji.
Only one question is pending, which is Deepa's
Yes.
on sense of proportion and sense of value. So
Right.
what we can do, let's have session next week also. So send questions. I mean, I'm sure small group discussion will generate one more question, but send questions, whatever questions you have. Otherwise, we just have one Q&A and that's it. After a long time we are having, ideally, once we start, we should have 2 or 3 in a row. So whatever questions you have, send questions so that we can have at least one more session next week.
Yeah.
All right. So, we have 10 minutes. So either we can conclude or you can use this opportunity to clarify if something else is on your mind. All right. So let's conclude for today. So who is entering right now? So can you please inform the new person who logged in just now that we concluded, Radha?
Yes, amitji. We concluded right now. The session was from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So next time, next Wednesday, please log in at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah. And what is the name? That lady's name is Lakshmi, I saw.
Lakshmi, yes.
Yeah. So if required, if she wants, you can send her the recording so that she
Yes.
can listen to it.
Yes.
All right. So see you next week, all of you.
Thank you.
Welcome.